All right. Assalamu alaikum. This is Coach Munir, and I'm here with an extremely special guest. We're going to be talking about fitness, business, faith, and a multitude of different topics. This guy is the man, the myth, the legend, Brother Abe, which is short for Abdurrahman, not short for Abil, which is what I originally thought. He is here today, and this guy, let me just hype this guy up a little bit because he deserves to be hyped up. First off, this guy's super shred. Like, go follow him right now. If you're watching this on my thing or you're watching it on his thing, obviously you're already following him, but super shredded, mashallah. He's a business owner and is working in tech. So he's like super great with time management, and he makes it to the gym every single night to stay shredded. And he's married. So all you folks out there who say, oh, you single guys, blah, blah, no, he's married. So you don't have an excuse anymore. And on top of that, he's running an extremely successful digital marketing agency, working with some of the top people in the fitness industry and connecting with some of the top Muslim influencers all over the world. And he's even doing charity work within different Muslim organizations. So alhamdulillah, I'm super honored to have him here. And Brother Abe, jazakallah khair for being here.
Man, I'm excited and I'm happy to be here. And the second I watched your video on TikTok, you came up on my feed. I was like, man, I vibe with this guy so much. I love what you're saying, and I can relate to so many of the videos you posted, just because I've gone through some of the things you talk about in your videos.
Jazakallah khair. Well, I'm happy that we connected, and it's really crazy. I was telling you this when we had a conversation a couple of weeks ago, where it's kind of like when you take a step towards Allah, Allah runs towards you. And I believe that is either in the Quran or in the Hadith, but it is an Islamic principle and it is a fact. And I'm experiencing it firsthand because I used to hear that when I was a kid, and I was like, okay, I can kind of see it, but I want a PlayStation. Why are my parents not giving me a PlayStation? I'm praying for a PlayStation. But that was when I was a kid. But then when you become older and you start to really appreciate Islam for what it is, and you can truly embrace Islam for yourself and make that decision, that's where things really start to happen. Alhamdulillah, I've had the opportunity to connect with you and a lot of amazing people like you. So jazakallah khair for being here. So brother, let's dive into, I guess there's a lot of topics we can dive into because I see you as an authority when it comes to fitness, business, many different things. You want to dive into fitness or business first?
I think fitness is so important first because I think fitness actually has helped me like gain confidence in just like being myself and being comfortable with who I am in public. You work so hard, you get so disciplined at the gym and with your nutrition that working longer hours at work doesn't become a problem because you already built that discipline. So I think for me, like I remember having to wake up in high school. I would wake up at 5 a.m, go to the gym before, going to high school. And that helped me build a lot of discipline. And, I would learn from influencers and YouTubers online, how to eat properly, how to, lift properly. And I stuck with it. And I think I've been lifting for about 10 years now. So alhamdulillah, I've been consistent. So I think consistency with fitness has helped me tremendously with every aspect of my life. And then the fact that now I'm more conscious of like the foods that I eat, because I've started to develop this awareness of how I feel after I eat something. So now I'm only going for the healthy options just because I want to feel good and I want to have that clarity and mental focus for my work.
100%. A lot of great things to dive into there. And it's 100% true. Like the discipline and character you build inside of fitness, when it comes to nutrition, when it comes to training, when it comes to pushing yourself, when it comes to seeking knowledge. I mean, there's so many different character attributes that I also developed in fitness that took me from being, the lazy, shy, unconfident guy that I was before I started lifting 12 years ago to building the confidence, having the discipline to build my speaking skills and my social skills and everything else that's allowed me to get where I want to be today. Or even in business, having the discipline to push in business and a number of other things. So alhamdulillah, it definitely teaches you a lot. And then it's crazy because, now as business owners and as professionals, and for you being married, you got to be at your best at all times because there's people who rely on you. And so having that level of awareness and discipline and integrity with yourself to take care of your health and your energy is absolutely huge. So I love that. So what are some things you've noticed with nutrition as you've gotten older that have helped you to optimize your energy and things you need to avoid?
So I'm a caffeine junkie. So this is something I've been trying to cut up on a little bit because I drink too much. I drink a lot of caffeine. But as far as foods go, I love McDonald's. I love their fries. It's like, but the feeling that I noticed I get after, especially as I'm getting older, I'm about to be 27. So especially as I'm getting older, I feel like my body the digestion process is kind of taking more of a toll on my body. And I've been noticing that. So now my options when I go out to eat, I'm always looking for what's the healthiest, even if it's going to be at an additional cost. I would much rather pay that and feel better. Because I also I studied, my brother graduated with microbiology, in chemistry, and my sister also did something similar. And I remember we had a conversation about like the food that we ingest actually breaks down and becomes the cells that rebuild in your body. So essentially, you're becoming what you actually eat. So I that helped me build a lot of awareness around the foods that I eat. But it's honestly, when you're obsessed with work and business and you want to stay optimized and you want to stay focused and sharp and you're always chasing that edge, you're going to be aware of the foods that you eat. And I actually fast every single day, from like intermittent fast, just because I want to get the maximum amount of energy that I can get in the mornings without anything in my system holding me back from feeling that focus. So I think, nutrition has become a way for me to actually, it works with me now. It's not something that works against me. I've learned how to use nutrition for my benefit so I can know what to eat when I need to feel sharp, and know what to eat when I'm relaxing and just want to like enjoy life.
100%. That's valuable knowledge to have. We can dive a little deeper into that as well. But I think it's super important because think about it. Like you might be watching this right now if you're a viewer here, and you might be in your 30s, you might be in your 40s, you might be in your 50s. You might be thinking, oh, wow, these guys are so young, 27. Wait till you get to my age. Yeah, wait till we get to your age. It's that much more important that you're mindful of what you put in your body, because it only gets worse and worse. And that's the thing. When I was 26, that's when my metabolism started to shift as well. I mean, it was probably about 24, 25 where I became more food sensitive to like dairy and other things that I used to eat a ton when I was in my early 20s, no problem. And then now at 27 myself, I also find that with energy, it's so important. I'm optimizing my energy with what I eat. And even today, I had a little screw up with diet where I said, okay, cool. Because I had a couple of clients who they like to eat bread. So I was saying, okay, let's get on the gluten-free bread. And then one of them said, hey, could I try this Dave's Killer Bread? I've heard it's healthy, blah, blah. And I remember I used that a while back, before I became food sensitive. I was like, okay, cool. We can test it out in the first couple of weeks. And then we can try cutting it out, try adding it again, and see how your body reacts. So I decided to experiment on myself too. So I had some of it today, and even though it's theoretically healthy and it's organic ingredients and the macros are good, the gluten weighed me down. I had this massive mid-energy slump in the middle of the day, even though I got enough sleep last night, even though everything else was optimized. And that's the one thing I could attribute it to. So it's incredible how much the food we eat relates to our energy versus, for me, personally, sometimes intermittent fasting gives me pretty good energy throughout the day, but I tend to crash midday if I do it. And that's just me. And that's the thing is, everybody has different genetics. So if you're watching this right now and you're like, oh, he said intermittent fasting, he said not, you got to experiment different protocols on yourself to see what's optimal for you and your genetics and your body and your schedule. But for me, I find that having a steady flow of complex carbs and proteins and keeping the fats lower throughout the day and keeping the sugars low throughout the day is the best thing for me with my energy and my fat loss and my performance across mind and body. So really, really awesome stuff. And then there is, I think those were the two main things I want to dive into there. So I really found it interesting, the points you brought up where it's like, okay, here's what I know to eat when I'm trying to be focused and energetic. Here's what to eat when I'm relaxed. So what are some foods that work for you when you're trying to have energy versus relaxed?
So I noticed when I do a high fat like breakfast, I usually will feel much sharper. Anything carbs, I can sense the insulin reaction right away, and that takes away from my focus. And I've actually tested this. I've played around with high fat diets, low carbs, high carb, low fat. Right now I'm doing moderate fat and moderate carbs. I think that's just the most sustainable diet for me, just because of my lifestyle. I travel, and I sometimes, I don't want to keep using my fitness pal to track every single thing I eat. So I want to be able to eyeball it and still enjoy life. So for me, like right now, I'm doing moderate fat and moderate carbs and high protein. So I'm about 200 grams of protein a day. So I notice when I keep my proteins high in the morning and my fats high, I have a much more focus. And then at night, that's before my workouts, I'll eat half of my carbs before my workout and the other half right after. So I'm actually putting my carbohydrates to use. I'm not just like eating carbs and going to bed. Because that's the one thing I noticed is when I eat before bed and it's just like a high carb meal, I feel pretty crappy the next day.
That's huge. And actually, it's really interesting because when you're doing those low carbs throughout the day, your body becomes very insulin sensitive. Then when you eat them before the workout, like I noticed, because when you post those Instagram stories, you get these insane pumps, and that pump looks like, you're not all bloated like somebody who's been eating a lot of carbs all day, like a lot of bodybuilders, but you have that kind of shredded pump where you get that nice pump, but you're not bloated from having carbs all day. And that's helpful. Now it's interesting. I've also split tested this. And in Ramadan, the protocol that used to work really well for me when I was younger was actually doing a really, really high fat sahur. And then the fats would sustain me throughout the day and my energy levels would be pretty good until around asr time. Then I would usually like take a nap after work and stuff like that. And I'm going to do a bigger Ramadan video on this for everybody who's waiting on that. My apologies on taking a while, but now that I'm a little bit older, it's weird because I find I respond better to complex carbs. Like when I was younger, my body didn't really process brown rice that well, and my energy and performance in the gym weren't so good. But now I love brown rice because it actually tastes pretty good now for some reason. Maybe my tastes have changed, but the energy I get from those complex carbs throughout the day is actually helpful for me. So everybody's different. That's why everybody needs a different approach, and you got to split test on yourself. Things change with age, things change with what phase of your life you're in. So it's important to always be testing and always be auditing and problem solving if there's anything that doesn't feel optimal. So that's awesome, man. Well, super happy to hear that. And on the topic of Ramadan, what's your typical Ramadan strategy?
Man, I always end up losing so much weight in Ramadan just because like I can't. So one of the things I personally don't like to feel is I don't like to feel bloated and heavy and fat. I don't like storing a lot of food in my stomach. I don't think that's healthy. And I feel like it's not something that, you know, it's even in Islam, you're not supposed to, right? I think 1/3 for your food, 1/3 for your water, and then 1/3 for your breath. I think that's the breakdown. But in Ramadan, I struggle heavily because just it's hard to get 200 grams of protein, especially, you know, like when you're fasting all day and you like, as soon as you start to feel like, okay, I can just fast for the rest of the night, like you're comfortable with it, you have to eat. And then when you eat, you're full right away. And you're like, how am I going to get 200 grams of protein in my body and pray? And, you know, like, how am I going to do all of that? So, and get some sleep for work tomorrow, because obviously you have to clock in at 6 in the morning or 7 in the morning. So it becomes a very tough challenge. And I think what I've started doing is I cut back my training sessions. So instead of doing 5-6 days a week, I'll do 4. And then that gives me enough time to focus. I think spiritual cleansing and actual like physical cleansing takes priority from me around that time. So I'll still get the workouts in just to get my workouts in and just to make sure that I'm keeping some muscle mass on. But I'll keep my focus on like, I'll fix up my diet where like I'll drink more water. I'll eat healthier foods. Like I don't eat the out of desserts. I'm Egyptian, so like we have a lot of Egyptian desserts and Middle Eastern desserts, and they see, you know, my brother's married to someone from Pakistan, so like, you know, all the rice pudding and all the good stuff. I stay away from that section. Yeah. I tell them any function, anything, I will show up with my own food. You know, I'm not touching that. That's sometimes it's restricting, but it's like you feel better. You know, you feel like you have something that you're actually holding on to, and it feels better, and people respect you for that. So
100%. And this is a really, really good mindset, because the thing I love about your mindset to food versus the mindset that a lot of Muslims who struggle with their nutrition is a lot of Muslims who struggle with nutrition, and I've been there too. We see food as like, you know, a thing for pleasure, a thing for like family bonding. And certainly it can be, but why don't we put some healthy foods that we're having with the family? And that's the thing, the way that brother Abe sees it is that he sees it as something to fuel his performance and results in the gym, to fuel how he feels and enjoy life. And it's kind of like a lot of people say, okay, well, live a little, eat a cheat meal every day, because that's living life. But the way that we want to live life is we want to have energy. We want to have focus. We want to have productivity. We want to look and feel good. And part of that is being mindful of what we put in our body and the body that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us. So it's so important that to at least try that mindset shift. So if you're watching this right now, that might be a difficult mindset to take on if you've been entrenched in decades and decades and decades of the mindset of, oh, I need to have my biryani at night. Oh, I need to have my munsaf at night. Oh, I need to have my sweets at night. I'm so stressed. This helps you with the stress. Yeah. And I've been there because I get food cravings too. And I'm not perfect with this. And I like to do a weekly cheat meal. It was interesting. I was actually talking to my client, brother Abid, today, and he was actually saying the same thing that you were, because I was saying, okay, we need to do a cheat meal because you're plateaued on this and I don't want to go lower in your calories. He's like, well, I don't want to do a cheat meal. I like feeling good. And I was like, well, most clients are like, finally a cheat meal, but him, he has that mindset. That's why he's been so consistent. So
I just think about it this way. If you had a Ferrari or like a Lamborghini, right? Would you put regular gas in there to maximize the performance, or would you put like super gas in there, right? You would put the top. I don't know anything about cars and gas, but you would put the best type of gasoline in there just so that you can maximize the output of the car. And that's the way I look at my body. It's like I can either put some crappy oil in there and keep it, you know, barely moving, or I can put the best and make sure that my output is at the highest.
I love that mindset. I love that analogy. I'm probably going to use that because that's a really good one. So, and what I always say is you're either going to pay the farmer today or pay the pharmacist tomorrow. What Brother Abe was saying earlier was like, even if the healthy food costs more, I'm going to invest in that because I want to feel my best, because, you know, we only get one shot at life to be the best Muslims we can be and to be the best men and women that we can be. So why live that life really unoptimized? And I noticed too, like, especially since I became more religious, I started praying 5 times a day. When I'm not optimized because I ate some crap because I wasn't disciplined with my diet, or I let my mindset kind of slip into the mindset of pleasure as opposed to the mindset of discipline and benefit. Well, what ends up happening is you even feel tired and lazy about your prayers, and you end up procrastinating on your prayers, and you end up not being as focused during your prayers. So it makes you less of a good Muslim. And so that's really a powerful motivation, because we all want to be good Muslims. We all want to be happy, great, and successful in this life and the next. So the one thing I want to touch on too before we go on to the next topic is within the Ramadan strategy, it's quite interesting because you brought up a couple of interesting points. You know, for me, one thing that helps with getting the protein in is I like to break my fast with at least 50 grams of protein, but fast digesting protein. So that could be like a protein shake of a type of protein that you digest pretty well. Alhamdulillah, I tend to digest whey pretty well. So I'll have a date, I'll have like 2 or 3 almonds, usually 3 because 3 is a very Islamic number. And then from there, I'll have my 2 scoops of protein. And that kind of front loads the protein. From there, I will usually pray Maghrib and then hit a workout and then get my post-workout meal after that. Because if I eat right when I break the fast, I get so bloated. And I hate that feeling. And it makes you tired for Isha, it makes you tired for Tarawih, and it's not even good for your results anyways. And then after the gym, we'll do a quick session. So I lower my training intensity a lot as well. And then from there, I'm able to just finish that, get my post-workout meal, go to the masjid, pray Isha, pray Tarawih, come back, have another meal, go to bed for a little bit, wake up, have a high protein meal for suhoor, and then go about my day. And different people are going to need different schedules. Some people actually do well working out before Fajr. And I'll actually, before we move to the next topic, I'll just go over my 2020 versus my 2021 Ramadan strategy, where I had a different metabolism during both of those. And I also had a different schedule. So 2020, I was living in Australia and I was working a job where my first meeting of the day was 5 a.m., similar to you, where sometimes your first meeting of the day is 4 a.m. So I actually had to have suhoor before that meeting because Fajr wasn't even until 5:30. Then I have those meetings and I pray Fajr after that meeting at 6 and I go about my day. But in order to work out during that time, I had to go to bed at 8:30 and wake up at 3:30 so I could actually do my workout before Fajr. And I wasn't super religious at that time. You know, I was still fasting. I was still praying I was praying 5 times a day because it was Ramadan. And back then I used to only pray 5 times a day during Ramadan, astaghfirullah. But I wasn't going to Tarawih, but that's the strategy I had. Now, 2021, it was a little bit different because I was going a little bit higher fast, lower carbs, my metabolism had shifted. And I was still training 3 days a week because that's usually what works best in Ramadan. But again, my schedule was totally different where I was lifting at night. But anyways, the Ramadan video is coming up. We won't go too much into that. But if you have questions on Ramadan, drop them below. And if you're watching this on the TikTok live stream over there to the side, just go ahead and drop those comments and we'll answer them after we finish the YouTube podcast. But
I'm excited for the Ramadan series because I want to know, like, what are you doing? Because I struggle every single year. You know, it's like part of me is so excited for Ramadan, but another part is like, oh man, I'm about to lose a lot of gains.
No, we'll definitely make sure you're getting your protein intake. I'm happy to help you with this, inshallah, because especially when I was younger, I used to have a really small appetite. So I really struggled to get my protein intake. Now I've gotten older, really it was age 26 to 27 where my metabolism shifted. And now my appetite's huge. So when I was a kid, it was hard to gain muscle, but easy to lose fat. Now it's very easy to gain muscle because I have a huge appetite, but it's a lot harder to lose fat. So, you know, but I know what to do from back when my appetite was small. So inshallah, we'll definitely make sure that you probably will make gains in Ramadan, honestly.
Yeah.
Perfect. So anything else you want to cover as far as fitness, or you want to dive into some business stuff, inshallah?
Let's get in some business.
All right. Perfect, man. So when did you start your first business?
I started my first business, and it's going to sound crazy, but I started my first business. So we lived in Kuwait like for about 5-6 years when I was a kid. And I believe I was in like maybe 6th grade at the time, but I saw an opportunity. At the time, every kid would sag their pants and they wanted to show off their underwear, pretty much their boxers. We were transitioning from wearing whitey tighties to boxers. So there was a lot of demand, and I noticed that as a kid, and it's funny thinking about it right now. So what I did was I told my mom, take me to the mall, and I bought a bag full like 20 boxers full of cartoons, like Looney Tunes, SpongeBob, all that stuff. And then I went to my class and I sold the boxes to my classmates, and I started a business out of it. So I would buy iPods, I'd sell them. I'd buy MP3 players, I would sell them. And then that's how I started making money. And I remember when Apple launched whatever that thing is, the iPod, The fat one, I don't know if it was the nano or I don't know, I forgot the name of it. I remember going and buying it, and I remember specifically paying $80 for it, which is a lot of money. And the guy that took the purchase looked at me, he's like, is like, where are your parents? So yeah, so I had business. I would flip things all the time. I would just buy and sell. So that was just something I always did. And when we moved here, I would sell chocolate out of my locker room. So I would just, I would buy chocolates from Costco for $15. It had 30 pieces, and I would sell it and I'd flip it for 30. So I'd made, 2x, right? So I'd take the money, buy more product, sell more chocolate. And then I was making $300 a week doing that in high school. And then my operations got busted, and they were like, you can't do that. So I had to figure out other ways.
Dude, that's crazy. You've had the entrepreneurial instinct from a young age. It's kind of messed up that high schools like suppress that, because it's like, isn't the whole purpose of going to school learn to be a functional adult? But a big part of that is knowing how to provide for your family. So like, if you have an
I really
entrepreneur,
struggled.
huh?
Yeah, I really struggled in class. I retained the information, but I was just had curiosity, right? But I just couldn't sit in a class for so long. I wanted to be hands-on and do things. So yeah.
100%.
Started at a very young age.
Dude, that's crazy though. And I really feel like schools should support that. Like if I was a teacher, I'd be like, whoa, let's help you sell more of this stuff, man. I love the fact that you have that mindset. But unfortunately, the education system isn't as optimized as it should be, inshallah. But anyways, that's another topic for another time. But I like that, because actually when I was a kid too, I used to like buy and sell stuff. So I remember I went to the 99-cent store with my mom. I was like, wait, people would pay like $5 for some of these things that are 99 cents. So I started like selling stuff for the 99-cent store. And then I kind of like that kind of lost that entrepreneurial thing for a while. Then in college, I would like kind of flip stuff too, but never really at too big of a scale, just enough to kind of have some side money. But yeah, it's crazy. So now as far as like after school, when did you start your first like online business?
So I was in college. I was at a community college because I didn't know what I wanted to study. My parents are both dentists. My siblings knew that they were both going to study dentistry. So they had their path laid out. I had no idea what I wanted to do. I spent enough time around my dad to know I didn't want to do that. I hate being in the same place, like a redundant, repetitive schedule. I hate that. And I can't, like, I would literally die on the inside if I do that. So I knew that early on, and I'm glad I chose not to do that. But I went to school and I did economics in the beginning. And then I was like, my dad's expectations went from, we want you to be a dentist to, we want you to just get your freaking degree. Just get a degree. It doesn't matter what you get it in, just get a degree. And then, so I was like, listen, I'm going to get an engineering degree. And I started pursuing that. I did 4 years, but I didn't graduate. My last year, I decided to drop out. But I started my business the second year of college, because I started to notice that I was getting depressed. So I was like, I need to do something. So I started a blog called Discover Sacramento. And the whole idea was, I'm going to go find cool places in the city here in Sacramento where I live, and take pictures and write a blog about the place, just review. And that, within like a couple of months of putting in work, that took off, and we were like getting 50,000 hits a month locally from that blog. So I was getting a lot of traction. But what happened from that was I was getting business owners coming up to me telling me, hey, we need help with our social media. Do you know how to do this stuff? And I would say, yes, I know how to do it. And then I would just tell them it's going to be this much. They'll write me a check. I'll take the check. I'll go home and I'll figure it out. I'll figure out how to actually deliver. So that's how my marketing agency started. And that's like 6 years ago. So I had to learn how to, make websites. I had to learn how to run Facebook ads, Google ads, YouTube ads, Snapchat, TikTok ads now. Like, I had to teach myself how to do these things and acquire those skills so that I can deliver on what I was selling. But at heart, I would say I'm definitely a salesman. I'm like, a seller is what I am, and it's what I've been doing since I was a kid. And as I'm getting older, I'm starting to like go back to how I was as a kid, like having that passion again. So I'm back in college though. I'm finishing up my last year just for my family, just for my parents, in engineering. So we graduate as an engineer, inshallah, and get that out of the way.
Yes, that's.
I think that's the only thing they want from me.
Yeah, subhanAllah, such a great story. And that's it's kind of funny. It's like such a stereotype. It's like, Son, I know that you're making more money than most of these college grads, but you know what? Just get your degree for us, please. You're like, okay, that's
Yeah.
much love. I'll reward you for doing that for them. Alhamdulillah. But dude, subhanAllah, that's a crazy story. Like literally just almost like falling into the opportunity because you just were good and you were skilled and you were just focusing on your expertise and you just happened to get opportunity. And that's such a powerful mindset. You know, one of my past clients, he's a YouTube celebrity, his name is Clever Kazi. He teaches like people how to become programmers and web developers and stuff like that. He was
Actually,
mentoring.
know him.
Oh, you know him? Nice. So,
Yeah,
like,
I don't know him personally, but he worked with my business partner. Like
oh,
my business partner was running ads for him. He was running his program.
oh,
But
nice. Okay, cool. Yeah, because okay, that's awesome. Because yeah, he's Pakistani, and I didn't even know that until like I met him. I started talking to him. But yeah, he was my client for a little bit in the gym, like one of my in-person clients. Which obviously, when I was doing that in Hollywood, it was kind of expensive, so only people like him could come in for that. But yeah, so like he was also mentoring me in content though, so I hired him as a mentor to help me with my content. One thing he said is just create content, assume that nobody's going to see it, and just make it your own personal masterpiece, even if nobody's going to see it. And while it's hard to always have that mindset, because sometimes you're like, okay, what's going to get views? What's going to, optimize the algorithm, stuff like that. Sometimes just having that mindset of let me focus on my craft, like even with creating a service business where it's like, okay, how do I just become the best at what I do? Knowing that when I promote it, it's going to bring people in. So that's super powerful. And yeah, bro, I mean, that's quite a story, bro. SubhanAllah. So,
and you would be surprised. So I would, if I was to give anyone just one piece of advice, I would just say, just show up. Like if you feel unqualified for something, just show up and see what could happen. You never know. Like I didn't feel qualified to run marketing for a business, but I honestly just showed up to the opportunity, because you'd be surprised how many people don't show up that are qualified because they let their nerves get the best of them. So if you're not qualified but you show up, you're actually going to beat a lot of other qualified people that didn't show up because they let their emotions get in the way.
100%. That's huge. Like I remember when I first became a trainer, I had my certification, but I was still like, I had some doubts where I was like, I don't know if I know how to train like all these people. I just know like bodybuilding. But I remember I went to the gym and my boss at the time, he told me, ignorance on fire is better than knowledge on ice. So he just said, if you don't know what to do, just walk them through some exercises from the NASM certification book, give them high fives, keep the energy high. And that's all you need. And so I was like, okay, cool. So I just became like the high five trainer. Even though my client results like sucked for the first couple months, everybody was still happy and people still signed up for more sessions because they like the energy, they like the motivation. I started learning nutrition. I started learning how to like deal with different body types. And that's where the results started to come too, alhamdulillah. So that's another good tip. That's awesome. So what is it like as a young entrepreneur, consistent with your fitness, working the job, but also working the business and then being married? Like and then also being Muslim, how does that time management work for you?
Oh man. So one of the videos you actually posted was about, how prayer actually builds a discipline and helps you with time management. And I think, like, subhanAllah, it's crazy how effective of a reset button, like science has come out now and said, you need to break between, tasks so that you can reset and then you can relax and you're not stressed. Your cortisol level is not too high. And then that's exactly what we need with Salat. That's exactly what Salat does. And I noticed that Salat has given me that like reset button every time I'm stressed out about work. I'm like, wow, how am I going to do this? And then I pray also. And after I pray, I get this epiphany. I'm like, this is what I need to do. So like in Salah, like I get into flow. And then after, I always come out with something. I always ask Allah in my prayer. I use it as a way to meditate so that I can ask Allah for answers for whatever I need help with. And it's worked every single time. It's opened so many doors. It's just like having that intention. So I think Islam in business, like they're one, they're not, separate. So alhamdulillah, like now I'm starting to find more like meaning for Islam in my business.
SubhanAllah, that's amazing. And that's why I call it, because it's amazing how like the principles that Allah gave us 1400 years ago are more applicable than ever today. And it's crazy how modern science always finds different like things that Islam has taught us for years that now they discover are true by science. So it's like it's interesting because a lot of times in life we're searching for the answers for ourselves, but Islam gives us a lot of the answers. And obviously for other certain specific things, like for instance, digital media marketing strategy, that's not necessarily in the Quran, but you can go seek out mentors to learn that stuff. So again, like it's just the right mindset towards these things. But that's why I call it the modern Muslim, man, is that it's taking the timeless principles of Islam and bringing it to the modern day and age where we need them more than ever. Because if you follow the conventional route where certain things are glorified that are haram, that don't actually bring happiness, even if they look glamorous on the surface, that was my big journey, as many people know from my social media, is what brought me to becoming a religious Muslim again, alhamdulillah. So that's amazing. Yeah, I love using Salat as a way to structure my day and getting that multiple ROI, where it's like my spiritual and faith ROI, but then it gives me an ROI in other areas too. And for those who don't know business, ROI means return on investment, in case you guys hear me say that. But
and it makes you, I think what it also does is it, like with discipline, when you're managing so many things, you get to actually break down what's valuable and what's not. You get to look at, all right, I'm wasting my time with these people. We're having some conversation that's not leading to any good, or it's not bringing anyone any benefit. Is this my setting? So when I started to be aware of my like friends and group of like the circle that I was around, I started to kind of just look at them and ask myself questions that I would literally sit and ask myself, like, are these people helping me become a better Muslim or a better person? Or are they just, because you need friends for Islam, you need friends for business, you're going to have different types of friends, but as long as you're getting better as a person, that's the most important thing. And that made me extremely aware of like where I spend my time. So like my time is extremely limited with just individuals that don't bring any good. And that allowed me to have more time to focus on the actual things that matter. So like with time management, I wouldn't say it's like extremely difficult once you filter out the things that are unnecessary. A lot of people struggle with time management because they have a lot of things that are unnecessary in there. 2 hours on social media, 4 hours on Netflix, and then you wonder where the day gone, right? It's like you wasted it. So I think once you write down exactly, one of the exercises my mentor gave me was, I want you to wake up every single morning and write down exactly everything you do. Write down like what time you started it and what time you finished it. He was like, don't change anything about your day. I just want you to do that. And I did that for a few days, and I looked, I'm like, I'm wasting so much time on these things that don't even matter. It's like he made me assess my own day without having to, without thinking about it. I would write it down without even thinking about it. And then when I reflected on it, I was like, there's so much time that I wasted that I will never have back. And that made me way more aware of where I put my time, because I'm putting my life into that.
100%. That's huge. Yeah, just doing that audit gives you so much. Like, for instance, I just hired a trainer to help me with my nutrition so I can get shredded again. Have me just write down everything that I eat, and just writing down what I eat has allowed me to audit so many BS things I was eating that were just not in integrity with myself and what I want to be eating to get the results I want. So I was actually thinking maybe we could dive into some Q&A from some of the TikTok questions. I'm sure there's a bunch of them on there. There always is. But was there anything else you want to cover before we go into some Q&A?
No, just want to see what people have to ask.
All right. Perfect.
Hopefully we can answer.
Yes. All right. So let's dive through some of the Q&A. We'll only answer a couple. So we have a couple people saying, so ready for Ramadan. There are no excuses. Awesome. Staying motivated. So I guess maybe we'll just answer one question, because I think this one is huge. And then we can end the podcast and maybe chill on TikTok for a little bit longer. So I'm going to pop this right here. And by the way, if you aren't already following Brother Abe, his Instagram is at Abe Elsayed, right? Did I get that right?
Yep.
Perfect. So perfect. So follow him on Instagram. The dude's got some amazing content, a lot of inspirational stuff that covers deeper into the question we're about to answer about motivation. I was watching some of his IGTVs and they're absolutely amazing, mashallah. So what would you say, like if somebody came to you and they said, how do I stay motivated, or how do you stay motivated? What would be your answer or advice to them?
That's a great question, because I actually struggled with this for the longest time ever. So a couple years ago, I had a very successful business and I was chasing money. I was chasing numbers, right? And I got to reach that goal. And I was, living, like, honestly, I was living the dream life at a young age. I thought I had everything. And that was the most depressed I've ever been at that time, because I didn't put the right priorities. All of my time was going in my business. I actually kind of abandoned my family. I really stopped calling my family. I stopped talking to my siblings, and I was just like so obsessed with work. I was like running after life and things. I forgot my deen. I forgot my identity. It was all about money. So I got there and I lost grip of everything. I was so depressed. So I actually ended up reassessing and moving back in with my family and I got rid of everything, fired my clients, and I had to reassess, what am I going to do that is actually beneficial to not just me, because I'm content with what I have. I need to be able to be helpful to the community and people around me. So to stay motivated, your goal has to actually be something that's meaningful and has to go beyond you as an individual. Because what you like today, 5 years from now, or 2 years from now, or 6 months from now, you're going to change your mind. The foods that you liked 3 years ago are not the same foods you like today. We get tired of things, right? We think we want something, we get it, and then we're like, okay, on to the next thing. And if you're going to keep doing that, you're going to keep feeling unsatisfied for the rest of your life. So, but having a goal where you can see an impact, where you can see actually people being changed right in front of you, that I think that's what it is going to keep you going, no matter how crappy you feel right now, or how down you feel about life, or how broke you get. Life will test you. Allah will put you through tests to see if you're qualified to handle the responsibility of blessing you with enough wealth to be able to help other people. My friend told me one time, he was like, Allah uses people and loves people that are rivers, not ponds. If you're a river, things will flow through you and you'll be able to help sustain life and help sustain people that, can make use of that river. But if you're a pond, Allah will give you some resources, but you'll hold on to it, and those resources will just die there, and they will not touch anything, they will not help anyone, and it will just die there, and it'll be murky water. So to me, like, I always want to be a river. Your goals have to be something that will encompass other people and consider your community, Islam as a whole. And I think the best goals that we can set are the goals that tie into our deen. What am I doing right now for my community, for other Muslim people? I look at myself, my goals is to help Muslim men in business, just like you. I'm sure you wake up with this fire in your gut every single morning to go out and help as many Muslim men get in shape as possible and get in the right mindset. And that's also my goal with business. I want to educate and help empower other Muslim entrepreneurs that want to come up and start businesses. And for me, that's a huge responsibility. And I take accountability for every single day. And I don't need any other external, I don't need a new car to feel like getting at. The car does not matter to me. Like, we have things to do. That's kind of my mindset. Like, I have stuff that I need to get done.
100%. That's so powerful. I resonate with that so hard because it's like so similar to my story. No wonder we have so many parallels and similarities, mashallah. And that's huge. And that's a good reminder for me too, because sometimes even with the modern Muslim man, there's some days where I wake up and there's a lot of work to do and I feel disconnected from my purpose, and I have to remind myself why I'm doing what I'm doing to get myself back motivated. And if you're watching this right now and you're like, I wish I could be motivated, but like these guys, they're different from me. No. We still have days where we struggle, but we got to get connected with that reason again. That's one of the most powerful things that prayer allows you to do, because if I was just waking up for myself, and I did a video on this on TikTok, if I was just waking up for myself, I would not wake up early, right? Like, it's funny. I will always wake up for Fajr and usually for Tahajjud. But if I go to sleep afterwards and I have to wake up for myself later, I like dilly-dally in bed, versus when it's time for Fajr, I'm like, all right, Fajr, I need to make it happen. And, I'm doing it for a purpose that's greater than me, because it's for the purpose of Allah. And likewise, like, let's say I'm tired, but I have a call with a client, or I have a call with a prospect, or I have a podcast and I'm not feeling like it, but I just show up anyways because there's a greater reason than just me to actually take action. I end up rising to the occasion and having an amazing time and doing great work. Versus if I'm just sitting there trying to get things done on my own, sometimes I can kind of get into a negative loop, and I have strategies that help me get out of that. But one of those strategies is leveraging the service of other people. So I think if you're struggling, it depends on what you're struggling on motivation with. Like, if it's struggling with motivation to go to the gym, well, don't think about how the gym's going to affect you. Think about how it's going to affect your family. When you step up as a better role model for your kids, or when you step up as a better role model for your parents, if your parents are unhealthy and you're young and you're falling down that same track, you're going to be just like them, but you bring that culture of health to your family. When I first got into fitness, when I was a kid, my parents were both a little bit overweight, and I'm not sure if I was exactly what inspired them, but I definitely didn't get in their way from getting in shape. I was definitely part of at least some degree of their inspiration. I think they were also doing it for other reasons too, but and then alhamdulillah, I had the opportunity to train them in the gym too in 2018 when I started my own business. So alhamdulillah, when you serve other people, it makes that much more of an impact. And so I think that's, if you need help making this specific to you, drop a comment with a question, let us know. But that's ultimately what we want to do for you. So if we do Q&A off TikTok, it will probably be on all night, but I think we should end the podcast here and then maybe answer a couple of questions on TikTok afterwards. But if you're watching this on YouTube or in my Facebook group, what I'll go ahead and do is attach Brother Abe's social media links to this post right here. If it's in the Facebook group, it'll be in the comments down below. And if it's on YouTube, it'll be in the description. And what I want you to do is go and follow him, because that's going to help you to motivate yourself and to learn. And especially if you're a Muslim business owner, which is what my Facebook group's all about. So obviously, if you're watching this in my Facebook group right now, all 150 of you are Muslim business owners. So go follow him, because he's launching this project and he's already got great content on this. It's going to help you right now inside of your business, inshallah. So Jazakallah khair again, brother. And is there any closing thoughts you have for our viewers?
And I appreciate the work you're doing, and I'm glad to be a part of it. And I'm excited for the future, inshallah. And I'm happy to see you helping Muslim people out there get in shape, because we need more Muslims in shape.
Jazakallah khair. And I'm happy to see
Inshallah.
you helping Muslims with business. In fact, there's a brother who I want to connect you with as well, who I'm probably going to be doing a podcast with him soon. He helps Muslim entrepreneurs too, so that'll definitely be a good collab. But anyways, Jazakallah khair. Appreciate you guys for being here. Appreciate you, brother Abe. And inshallah, many more episodes to come. We'll see you guys in the next one. Assalamu alaikum.